though in her heart of hearts she had to confess to liking both immensely. Andrew had a gentle side, a light to his pale blue eyes, which seemed to grow in intensity whenever they were together. She loved that gentle light, and wished for nothing more than to dedicate herself to strengthening it all their life long. Catherine extended her hand to her father. "Here you are." As he fitted on the fur-lined slippers, Catherine's gaze lifted to glance out the open front door. General Wetlock's ship filled the waters and the evening with a brooding menace. With a shiver, a flash of premonition seemed to hold a trace of her own future. "I wish the General and his ship were gone," Catherine murmured, then regretted the words as soon as they were spoken. Her father could turn hot and sharp at the drop of what he considered a single improper comment. He was a good father, but stern, and his anger was never too far from the surface. It was said about the garrison that John Price was good at his work precisely because of these qualities. He could make the most recalcitrant drover more lively and squeeze the truth from a stone. But today, John Price awkwardly shuffled to the fireplace and stood looking down at the fire. The old war wound had left him with one leg slightly shorter than the other, causing him to rock back and forth as he walked. He said to the flames, "Your mother did not like the ships either." Catherine's hands stilled over her work. She could not recall the last time he had spoken of her mother. "She used to call them harbingers of doom," John Price continued. The stones glowed ruddy and bright, and the light reflected upon her father's features, turning them old and sad. "She said that whenever they appeared, they trailed the flag of war off behind." Catherine forced herself to move, to reach for a mug from the wall hook and pour a cup of steaming cider. She walked over and said softly, "Here, Father, you must be parched." "Thank you, daughter." He lifted the pewter mug to his lips without raising his gaze from the fire. When he had sipped the hot brew, he went on, "It will be a lonely house when you've gone." She tried for a cheerful tone. "I shall only be just down the lane. You know Andrew has taken hold of the old Elton place." Her laugh sounded strained to her own ears. "That should keep the parish carpenters busy for years to come." "Yes." He drained the mug and handed it back, his eyes rising to fasten upon her face. "You cannot imagine how much you have come to resemble your mother." "I wish I had known her." "No more than I do, child. She was the finest woman God ever made. She—" The gaze dropped back, as though memories were too heavy to keep aloft. "When the fever took her the 3rd year after you were born, I thought for certain I would never make it alone. You were so tiny, and there was so much I didn't know." "You did a good job, a fine job, the best anyone could have." His ruddy features stretched into a sad smile. "I was sorry you had to grow up fast, but there was little I could do about it. Your mother was gone, and I watched you try as hard as you could to take her place, even before you knew exactly what it was you were doing." He looked at her then, but Catherine was not sure he was seeing much beyond his own memories. "I hope Andrew realizes just how lucky a man he is, taking you to his home." Catherine found enough of her voice to reply, "I think he does." He returned his gaze to the fire and the past. "It's a shame your mother will not be there on that day." "Thank you, Father." The words seemed so inadequate, but nothing of their quiet life together had prepared her for this chance to say all she had on her heart and mind. The room behind her was silent for a long time, quiet enough for the sounds of merrymaking to drift over from the distant French village. Finally, her father murmured, "Your mother would be very proud of you, Catherine, very proud indeed." She didn't even notice the tear that tripped from her chin into the pudding. Catherine's fingers tugged gently at the strings of her bonnet. She wished she could push it back onto her shoulders and let the slight breeze blow through her hair and cool her flushed face. But she feared, even on this remote, seemingly unused trail, that she might meet patrolling British soldiers who would be scandalized to see a young woman out walking without proper head covering. Though it was a warm day, that was not the only reason the blood raced through her veins, flushing her cheeks. Tomorrow was her wedding day. She was finally to become the wife of Lieutenant Andrew Harrow.